My name's Nathan Layton. I'm with Sprayman Supply, and what we're going to go over with this short video today is the assembly and the components of a 10-gallon hot pour melter. We can ship you these melters. They come in 2 containers here, one with the handle assembly, one with the body assembly. The net weight it's contained on here is about 140 pounds for the body and about 3 pounds for the handle. Brief overview of a couple of the tools required to assemble the melter. We need a hammer and a pry bar or chisel to remove the box, a box cutter to remove the plastic and the wrap, adjustable wrench and Teflon tape to install the thermometer gauge, a couple of basic wrenches or sockets, your choice, 9/16 and 1/2 inch wrench, and a plier of your choice. Okay, we've unpackaged our melter now. There's the 2 boxes. In your first box, which is the handle package that weighs about 3-4 pounds, you'll find the main handle component, and included is 3 levers as well. The first lever is an agitation lever. The second lever here controls the squeegee for when it's flattening the product on the asphalt. The third lever is the flow control, or the on and off, for how quickly the product will pour out. In the second box, or in the crate, we have the main body component. So already pre-assembled is your front wheel. You have your, you look over here on the side, you have your spindles with washers. You've got your bolts for the handles, your additional nut and bolt hardware. It already is included. Also in this crate, you will find the torch with the regulator, 2 wheels. The bushings are already pre-greased with some brown grease, a thermometer gauge, as well as a housing to protect the thermometer, and then you will find a platform where the 20-pound propane tank sits, as well as a chain that will hold the propane tank in place. So these are all the components that come in the 2 boxes. Now we're going to assemble them piece by piece. Okay, so we have less than a dozen components to assemble on these hot pour melters. They're a fairly simple system. I like to start with the wheels first. You'll see here on the body of it, you've got a cotter pin on both sides and a couple of washers. So you can remove them. Each wheel has brown grease already put in it. While we're talking on this subject, this is a spot on these things where as they heat up, they're notorious for seizing a bit, so over time you want to remember to sand on the shaft and in the bearing as well, and to keep them greased up. The wheels, everything on these are solid steel, so nothing can melt, obviously, with the amount of heat we're dealing with. The wheels go facing in. So 1 washer, 1 wheel, 1 washer, 1 cotter pin. And we're going to repeat it on the other side. Remove the pin, remove the washers. 1 washer, 1 wheel facing in. If we need to, let's remove this squeegee out of the way. 1 washer, 1 cotter pin back on. We can put our squeegee in place. Now it's a little easier to work with. Okay, next loose component here is a platform that houses the propane. You'll notice on the bottom here it holds the torch as well. Has a little spring-loaded mechanism. As you insert the torch, this will allow it to hold it in place, because as you're moving along, the torch can tend to fall out of place. So this simply clips in. You can either use your hammer or a soft mallet if you want, and that's installed. Additionally, when you have your source here, your propane tank, for it not to rattle around, they've included a chain here, so you can chain fall from one side, connects around, and connects the propane tank to the other side. We have a top mount piece here, couple of 9/16 bolts with washers. You can remove them. We have a spot here for our thermometer gauge to go in. So the middle location here is where our thermometer gauge is installed, and then the housing that protects it. You'll see the gauge here goes right up to 550, 600 degrees Fahrenheit. Your ideal melting point for the direct fire product is right around 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and that would be 200 degrees Celsius. That's a great flash point, and the product comes out and just melts into the crack or the opening like butter. So we're going to take the threaded part here. I like to put a little bit of Teflon tape on it to get it set. There's also a lock nut on it because you want to adjust the gauge so that it is facing the correct position. So we're going to put the gauge in. We'll spin it into place. You really don't want to bang the gauges around. They're quite sensitive. It doesn't take much to knock them. And we get it facing the front. And with our adjustable wrench, we can lock it into position. Like so. So you can adjust that accordingly so that it won't move on you. Then we have the housing to protect the gauge from other tools hitting it. And you can install your 9/16 bolts in place. And we can use either a socket or a wrench to tighten them down. Okay, only thing left to install now is the handle and the different levers. So put on our main handle. You can see on the handle it's got a spot for the two levers. These line up with the side where it pours out and controls the flow. So these go in. You can back these bolts off. They're stainless bolts. There's also a spacer here to stop them so they only go in so far. And then we can tighten them up, just hand tight for now. We can crank them down. Same with on the other side. Spacers in, hand tighten it up. Again, it's 9/16, either a wrench or socket. Couple turns. So you can disassemble it for transport if you so desire, but most guys don't. Put it together once and that's it. And levers, our first lever on this side where the body opens up, hooks up to the agitator that agitates the product to force the flow out. It comes pre-assembled with the nuts and bolts and washers all on it. So it's just a matter of installing it. One end up here, you can see, if you zoom in on this point here, you can see a spacer between two washers and you can see the size of the hole. So I simply need to remove one nut, one washer, install it over top of the spacer, put the washer back on, put the nut back on, hand tight. And the same here. Lines up with my washer. Again, there's a spacer and a washer in here, so we're going to remove one nut, one washer, and install. This one has the nut to the outside of the body, bolt head to the inside. And tighten. We got our half-inch wrench, pliers, sockets, your choice. And tighten here accordingly. And you can see the lever is limited how far you can throw it. You've got a full action here, where the action comes from here to here. Full action. On our other side here, we have two more levers to install. And they are nicely, conveniently numbered for you on the lever. So if you look right in here on the spring, it's got number 2. There's a sticker here, number 2. So 2 matches up to 2. Same with down here. There's a number 3. If you zoom in down here, there's a number 3 on the end of this. On this particular one for the flow control, as you can see, it has a spring on the rod. It has a solid spacer at the bottom. They've given you a washer way down here on the end. So we're going to remove our cotter pin. This washer is designed to go up here. It goes right where this hole is, so this opening is large enough for the rod to fit in. So we can install our washer on the spring, install the lever in so it holds that spring in place, which allows for flow. And then go down here, this inserts right in. And we reinstall our cotter pin on the end. And again, needle nose or channel lock pliers, your choice, just to set that pin. And the final handle or lever is for our squeegee. The squeegee is this component on the ground, so if I'm going from one crack to the next crack, this gives me the ability to lift it up and transport over to the other one. The flow gives me the ability to shut the flow off, so I'm not pouring tar out on an area I don't want to pour it out on. So again, we remove our pin. Again, it's labeled number 5 to 5. Here, number 4 to number 4. So we are going to install this as such. Sorry, wrong way. A little bit of motion required. Our boot, make sure it's on the right side of the flow. Install number 5 to 5, and again, put a cotter pin in. And tighten it. You can just connect all, you can take a chance and go around and check all your bolts and nuts and make sure everything's tightened up. You can check your flow, opens and closes correctly, everything moves correctly, agitator moves correctly, everything's bolted down nice. So that's a basic overview of the parts and components of the 10-gallon melter, as well as the assembly of it. And again, you can go over all your pieces, your nuts and bolts, make sure everything's tight, make sure everything is free moving, and that's basically it. We'll go over a next video on how to install the crack with the hot pour melter.